Alright, what's up, Dragon Brood? Today we're going to be playing some ninjas. Finally, I know a bunch of y'all wanted to see it, and I think I finally got a list together that can work, so we'll see if it does everything it needs to do for you. Also, I'm going to apologize if there's any noise. There's some people doing some yard work and construction and whatever outside, so I'm going to try to dim that noise in the background. Hopefully, it'll be taken care of, but hey, either way, we're here to see ninjas, so let's go talk about them. Alright, so in constructing this deck, there's a couple of things we're trying to solve for. One is trying to make sure your creatures can get through so you can cast ninjas on the cheap. The other is finding the ninjas that had the best abilities for you, but also had low ninjutsu cost. That was a little bit of a, kind of a little bit of tension there. And then the other part of all that is how many ninjas do we play versus how many rogues do we play? Because we have some rogues and ninjas that kind of work together. So we're shoving them all in a list, and hopefully this gets us closer to the finish line. So starting at the top, we're playing 4 Fading Hopes because, 1, Fading Hope's just a damn good card, and getting the Scry from it's going to help you out quite a bit in several situations. But more importantly, it gets blockers out of the way to allow you to use your ninjutsu. So that's not a bad thing, right? So we want to roll with that. Also, randomly, you can protect one of your creatures if you need to. And sometimes bouncing your own creature can allow you to use the ninjutsu again. And since some of these actually have triggers when they hit the opponent, like the turn they come into play or whatever, getting a chance to reuse some of those could be pretty nice. Next up, we've got one of the new cards, which is a common, by the way, so an easy addition to find and add here. But it's Network Disruptor. It's 1 blue, 1/1, flying, and when it enters the battlefield, you tap target permanent. Again, a great way to tap down a creature that's likely going to block your threat and then allow you to get through. Or force the opponent to make a choice of they can block with their better thing, or they risk you putting something into play that they don't want to deal with. So good there, good stuff there. We also have 3 Merfolk Wind Robbers because also flying means it's going to be hard for your opponent to block. And that's kind of the name of the game on some of these, right? It's just making sure you have enough creatures that have some type of evasion so you can trigger your ninjutsu. We're playing 3, or actually just 2 Spell Pierce. And this is also a newer reprint. Counter target non-creature spell. This is mostly going to be for sweepers, for spot removal, stuff like that. That's going to just cause a little bit of a problem for you. And then we have yet another flying creature. And this was one I was actually kind of big on during the previews. But Thousand Face Shadow. It's a 1 blue, 1/1 flying creature. When it enters the battlefield from your hand, if it's attacking, excuse me, create a token that's a copy of another target attacking creature. The token enters the battlefield tapped and attacking. So, again, what this means is basically, if you put it into play and it's attacking, so usually with ninjutsu, right, you get to copy another attacking creature, which is pretty awesome. And it's also attacking. So this card has potential to do some really big things if you can clear the path, to the point that your opponent has to get really concerned with almost anything not getting blocked. So yeah, real problem there. We added a couple copies of Dokuchu Silencer. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Colorless and a black for a 2/1 ninjutsu of 1 and a black. And when it deals combat damage to a player, you may discard a card. If you do, then you destroy target creature or planeswalker. That's actually pretty sweet. This is an extra kill card in the deck that if something gets through, it's like, okay, cool. Maybe they attacked you with their big thing and they're planning on just chump blocking something and letting something else through. Okay, well, the one that gets through, you swap it with the silencer. You get to kill that big thing that attacked you last turn so it's not attacking you again. So hopefully this works out the way we want, but it's a pretty sweet card. It's a 2/1 for 2 anyway, so it's not awful. We're playing 3 Infernal Grasp because, you know, just still got to have some removal, even if you may not sneak through your ninja, so you want to make sure you can kill some things. We're also playing 2 Nezumi Prowler, a colorless and a black for a 3/1 ninjutsu, also of 1 and a black. And when it enters the battlefield, target creature you control gains Death Touch and Lifelink. And this may feel a little weird whenever you look at it just on the surface. But what I like about this is it's a 3/1 for 2, so it is very aggressive. It also can just work without ninjutsu. It's just when it enters the battlefield. So you can do it pre-combat, put it into play, give something Death Touch and Lifelink, which means your opponent may not want to block it. So you can kind of either decide if you really do want it to be blocked or you know it's going to get blocked. You get to kill something. Or they just don't want to block it, and then you get a chance to ninjutsu something else in, right? That's a thing. Or even in a situation where you do attack with multiple things, maybe the one thing gets through that's small that they're willing to take a risk on, they block something else, and then you put the Prowler in, you can give that thing that got blocked Death Touch, and now the opponent still loses a creature. So that's actually pretty cool too. And the Lifelink's just a nice little bonus. We're playing a full set of, as people have affectionately referred to it as Master Splinter, Silver Fur Master. It's a blue and a black for a 2/2 ninjutsu of a blue and a black, so same cost. And ninjutsu abilities you activate cost 1 less to activate. And then other ninjas and rogues you control are +1/+1. And that's cool because it also pumps the rogues, not just your ninjas. So this is pretty cool that it's pumping all the other creatures in your deck. It also makes those ninjutsu costs be even cheaper, which is super awesome. So love that a lot. Then we have a full set of Soaring Thought Thief. Now, the thing about Soaring Thought Thief that's a little tough, right, is it gets a benefit by milling your opponent. But we really only have a handful of rogues in the deck, right? So we're not going to be winning that way necessarily, but it is another flyer. It does have flash. You know, it can mill some cards from your opponent that may matter. And occasionally it will get a bonus for itself and just be a bigger attacker. So it's not like it's bad that you're not playing a whole pile of rogues. It's actually still going to be useful here. And again, it's another flyer that's very hard for your opponents to deal with. Now what I'll say, also to the benefit of the Soaring Thought Thief, is that if you attack, you can use ninjutsu from something, and then it has flash, so you can also play it again during your opponent's instep if you like, right? So you're not really losing any real tempo there if you want to in a lot of cases, because you can leave your mana up. If you don't end up using it, you just put a creature back down, and now you could just use it again next turn. So I kind of like the way it works in here overall. We're playing 2 Agadeem's Awakening, yeah, just to get some stuff back later. And it is, these function as lands number 23 and 24, I believe, in this list. So, yeah, you know, most of the time you're probably just going to be playing it for what it is, not even need it as a land, because a lot of the stuff is going to come into play so cheaply. And then we're playing 3 copies of Kaito Shizuki. It's a colorless blue and a black. Has a whole pile of abilities. The turn it comes into play, it does phase out, so it gets to protect itself a little bit. You do get to draw a card, which is awesome. You can make a ninja that's unblockable, and then have Big Dumb ultimate ability, which I don't think we'll ever get to because it's 7. You're probably going to end the game. You're really going to be honestly using the first or the second ability, and if the game's not ended by then, I don't know what's going to happen. So we'll see. But yeah, it's kind of an excuse to want to get all these into the deck. You're playing ninjas anyway, so this kind of makes sense that this is going to go into the list. Like, I'd feel bad if we didn't include it. And then to round everything out, our final card is Prosperous Thief. We're playing 3. They are 2 colorless and a blue for a 3/2. Also a cheap ninjutsu of 1 and a blue. Whenever 1 or more ninjas or rogues you control deal combat damage to a player, you create a treasure token. Now, in general, you're going to look at that and be like, it's a treasure token, whatever. But the reality is, because our ninjutsu abilities are so cheap, this could allow us to get multiple triggers in on a turn. It could allow us to play a creature and still ninjutsu something. You know, it can let us do our thing and still leave mana up with our counters or whatever else, right? There's just a lot of different things this is going to open up and allow for us to do, I think. So, pretty excited about that overall. Lands, we're playing a full set of Clearwater Pathways, no surprise there. We're playing 2 Hall of the Storm Giants. We're playing 3 Hive of the Eye Tyrants, mostly because Hive of the Eye Tyrants just easier to activate than the Hall of the Storm Giants. However, that is 5 lands that could potentially come into play tapped, but I don't mind it so much in the fact that we have so many cheap flyers, we have so many cheap ninjutsu costs. Like, if a land comes into play tap for a turn, it shouldn't cripple us too much. But I wanted to also have just another out, so if a sweeper does happen, or if you are applying enough pressure, it's just one more thing that can come after your opponent. We're playing 2 Otawara Soaring City. This is another good one because it just returns an artifact or a creature, whatever, to your opponent's hand. Super, super strong. And there's a chance we're likely just going to need it for blue mana, but if we don't, it's another way to just clear the path for something in a very aggressive deck. Then we have 4 Shipwreck Marsh because it's blue-black, and we love that. 1 Takanuma, and this is mostly to like get something back from the graveyard. I'm guessing if we're getting anything back, it'll either be a ninja that has a particular ability that's good right at that point in time, or we're going to probably be getting back Kaito, I would think. So I don't know how powerful it's going to be in here, but it's almost like a no punishment cost because it almost acts as a spare swamp. So we're just going to run with that. And then we're playing 2 islands and 2 swamps. So not a super complicated mana base. It's sort of what you expect for something like this. Now, overall, what are we concerned about in playing the Rogues deck? I would say more than anything, you're probably worried a little bit about other heavy aggressive decks that also have a chunk of removal. So your mono red decks with a lot of spot removal, or your mono white decks that are playing like, you know, the full set of apparitions, Brutal Cathar, or even playing Portable Holes, right? Those are all cards that are not good for this list. But outside of those, like, you should be able to survive most of the sweepers because you can kind of protect your best creatures because of Ninjutsu. You also have some counter spells of your own, and you have creature lands. So you might be able to just survive the heavy control decks anyway, but who knows? There's going to be a lot of ways this plays out. The early season is going to be pretty interesting, but this is at least a quality starting point if you are choosing to play ninjas, and if you're a fan of rogues, you can do that too. But as always, the link for the deck will be down in the description, so be sure to check that out if you want it on day 1. Also, if you'd be so kind, consider supporting the channel for as little as 99 cents. You can help me keep things going here on the YouTubes. And even if you don't do that, remember to like the video because that helps a lot. Please share it with anybody who's looking for deck lists. And most importantly, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Make sure you choose all notifications so you don't miss any of the videos when this goes live, because we're going to be playing a lot of these decks that we've been showcasing leading up to the set release of Kamigawa Neon Destiny. Dynasty. Dang it, did it again. Well, that's all I have for you for now. We'll see you next time.